Hey guys, Ms. Vasquez here, and today our mini lesson is going to be on partial products, 3-digit by 2-digit multiplication. Before we begin, it is important that you have some information on the vocabulary you're going to hear and see as we're learning multiplication. The first one is product. A product is an answer to a multiplication problem. The next word is equation, and an equation is a statement that shows that two expressions are equal. An example of this may be when I say 1 plus 1, I know that 1 plus 1 is 2, so this side is equal to 2. Just like when I put the equal sign, the side on the right is also equal to 2. So both sides, if you were to solve this side, would be equal to 2. So there's your example. Okay, so just a note, something to think about is as we're learning multiplication, you're going to be seeing a bunch of word problems throughout the year. Some of them are going to be multiplication, some of them are going to be division, subtraction, addition. So it's really important to understand why when you're reading a word problem do you think, hey, I need to multiply. What you're going to need to know is going to be a little bit more than what you've been learning over the years. You've been learning that keywords are going to help you, but in 5th grade, unfortunately, keywords might actually cause you to get the answer wrong and use the wrong operation. So this year, you're going to learn that when we use multiplication when finding a total and when my groups are the same size. These two things are very important because technically there are two operations where you're trying to find the total of something. One is addition and one is multiplication. What changes whether it's addition or multiplication and makes that deciding factor is when your groups are the same size. So with addition, your groups don't have to be the same size. Your groups can be two different sizes. So for example, I may have 5 apples and Miss Harbor may have 2 apples. We have two different size groups, but if we put them together, add them together, we get 7. So that's an example for addition. Whereas with multiplication, we're going to have the same size groups. So maybe I'm buying packs of pencils and it's the same amount in each pack. So I'm repeatedly adding the same amount every single time. That's what makes multiplication, is repeated addition. So let's go ahead and look at this teacher model first problem. The toy factory makes 634 toys each day. How many toys does the factory make in 17 days? Well, the first thing I see is that I have 634 toys each day. So that tells me that's how much is in a group. This is the size that is made in a day. So this is the size. Now, that being said, each group would be the day because I know that I have 17 of these days and every day I make 634 toys. So day represents the group, which tells me that I have 17 groups of 634 that I'm going to be looking at. And then last but not least is total. So when I'm reading this question, how many toys does the factory make in 17 days? That means I'm going to repeatedly add 634 17 times, which is a lot of work. Or I can use multiplication in order to find the answer to this question. How many toys does the factory make? I'm looking for that total. So let's go ahead and get to how to solve this multiplication of partial products. So in order to solve a partial products problem, you're going to first write the equation you will be solving. Since you don't know the answer yet, you're going to use a letter in place of your answer that makes sense to you. So since we're using multiplication and we know we're always going to be finding a total, we can always use T to represent the total, which is the answer to our multiplication problem. So let's go ahead and write our equation. We know we have 634 toys that are made in a day. And we're going to be multiplying that by the 17 days that we have to make the toys in order to find the total toys made in 17 days. So what happens in step 2 is we're going to take this same problem, and in this problem we're going to take that 2-digit number 17, and we're actually going to expand it according to its place value. So what that looks like is, I'm going to go ahead and circle that 17 that we're using. I'm going to look at each place value and I'm going to separate out the place values by their digits. So in this case I see I have 7 in the ones place, so I'm going to represent that with a 7. Plus I have a 1 in the tens place, so that means it's 10. So I have 10 plus 7, which equals 17. I've expanded that out, separated out those place values, and showed their value. Okay, so now that I've done that, step 3. I'm going to multiply that 3-digit number, the one I haven't touched yet. So in this case it's 634. And what I'm going to do is, once I have expanded that number out, I'm actually going to take that 3-digit number and I'm going to multiply it by each of these values. So I'm going to have 634 times 10. And I'm going to have 634 times 7. This just makes multiplying these numbers a little bit easier. There's a trick for this first problem. Anytime I multiply a number times a digit with a 0 at the end of it, I can actually ignore that 0 and I can multiply all the other numbers. So in this case, I'm going to ignore my 0 and I can say 634 times 1. And I know that's 634. Now, what I do is, because that 0 is very important because it's a placeholder, it's telling me that 1 wasn't just a 1, it's actually in the tens place. All I have to do is count how many zeros I ignored and add those back into the back. So I ignored 1 0, so I'm going to add 1 0 to the end. And now I've correctly solved that very quickly, very easily. So now I'm going to go ahead and solve this. And if you're like me, sometimes, multiplying sideways like this is not something that I can do. So instead, I'm just going to go ahead and set it up in a stack the way I'm used to. And I'm going to go ahead and multiply 7 times each of these digits. So I know that 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 3 is 21 plus 2, 23. Carry the 2. Now if you notice, once I use that carryover, I lose it. Once you use it, you lose it. Okay? So now I'm going to say 7 times 6. I know that that is 42 plus 2 gives me 44. Once I've used it, I lose it. So I know that I have 4,438. Okay, so this brings us to step number 4. Step number 4 is actually probably the easiest. All I'm going to do is add the 2 products of those expanded form of 17 in order to get my final answer. So remember, this is the partial and the partial products. I'm finding part of the product. So in order to find the full product, I actually have to add these 2 together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm just going to set this up, and I'm going to say I had 6,340 plus 4,438. Adding those together, I know 0 and 8 make 0, 4 and 3 make 7, 4 and 3 make 7, 6 and 4 make 10, which gives me 10,778. Now, I know that that is not my final answer, because mathematicians know what their number means, and if you're ever given a word problem, then that means your answer shouldn't just be a number, it should be written in a sentence that explains what that number represents. So I'm going to go ahead and look back up here and say, how many toys does the factory make in 17 days? The factory makes 10,778 toys in 17 days. Now I have completed that question. So let's go ahead and try a guided practice. I'm going to just say the steps, and then you're going to have to answer each part, and then of course after you've tried it on your own, I'm going to show you how to do it so you can check your work. So on this first part, I know that step 1 is I'm going to write the equation, and it's almost partially written for you. You're missing one thing though. What do you think that one thing is? So the first part is to write the equation, and if you remember in the steps, if you're writing your equation and you don't know the answer yet, you're going to go ahead and substitute a letter in for where the answer should be. And we said since it's multiplication, we're always finding the total, we're just going to put T for total. So now I have my equation written and I'm ready to go. So step 2 tells you to take 2-digit number. So in this case, I'm going to take the 49. And you're going to expand that according to its place values. So why don't you go ahead and try that on your own, okay? So let's see how you did. So I know 49, I'm going to expand that out. So that means I have 9 in the ones place plus 4 in the tens place represents 40. So my expanded form is 40 plus 9. Okay, so moving on to step 3. I know that I'm going to multiply the 3-digit number by each of the expanded values. Go ahead and set those up now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set them up. Let's see how you did. Okay, so I know I have 40 plus 9, and those are my two numbers that I'm going to use to multiply 271. So I know I have 271 times 40 equals, and I have 271 times 9 equals. Well, like I said before, I know I can ignore this 0 behind the 4 and 40. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to multiply 4 times 271. Why don't you go ahead and do that now? Okay, let's see how you did. I don't like doing it sideways. So I know I have 271 times 4. I get 4. 7 times 4 is 28, carry the 2. And I know that 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2, which is 10. So I get 1,084. However, I'm not done here. That's times 4. This is times 40. So I know I need to add that 0 back in. So now I really have 10,840. Okay, why don't you try doing the second partial product on your own? Okay, let's check your work. I'm going to go ahead and stack these. It's easier for me to see and understand how to multiply them than if they're sideways, especially with those little carryovers. I know that 9 times 1 is 9. I know that 9 times 7 is 63. So I'm going to drop the 3, carry the 6. And I know that 9 times 2 is 18. Plus 6 is 14. And once you use it, you lose it. Oops, I didn't do that up there. Let me go ahead and cross that out real quick. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put that 1,439 here. And I'm going to move on to step 4. Add the two products together to get your answer. Okay, so I'm going to take that 10,840 and I'm going to be adding that 1,439 to it. Make sure that you've lined up those place values. Why don't you go ahead and solve it and tell me what your final answer is as a number. Don't worry about putting it in an answer sentence because there's no word problem. So go ahead and solve for that final answer. Okay, let's see how you did. So I know that I have 9 plus 0 is 9. 4 plus 3 is 7. 8 plus 4 is 12. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Plus 0 is 2. And I used it, so I gotta lose it. And then I have 1 that just comes straight down. So my answer is 12,279. Go ahead and try the last one on your own, and then once you're done, we will do it together. Okay, let's see how you did. So I know that for step 1, I'm writing the equation, making sure to put a letter in place of that unknown answer. And we know that since it's multiplication, we're looking for the total, so we're going to represent that total with t. So I have 143 times 25 equals t. Step 2 is I'm going to be taking this 2-digit number, which is 25, and I'm going to expand it out. I know that the 5 is in the ones place, plus the 2 in the tens place means that it represents 20. Now that I have my 2 expanded digits, I'm going to take that 3-digit number, 143, and I'm going to multiply it times those 2 digits. So times 20, 143 times 5. Okay, I'm going to ignore my 0. You could even put that 0 back if you really wanted to, just so you don't forget it. I'm going to go ahead and multiply 143 times 2, which is 6. 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. So I know I have 286. And I got to bring over that 0 to make 2,860. And then I'm going to multiply 143 times 5. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 1 is 21. When you use it, you lose it. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. Once again, you use it, you lose it. So that's 715. Now that I have both partial products ready to go, I'm going to add those together. So I get 2,860 plus 715. 5 and 0 is 5. 1 plus 6 is 7. 8 plus 7 is 15. Carry the 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. Once you use it, you lose it. So my answer is 3,575. I hope that these notes were pretty clear for you. Don't worry if they're not. This may not be the strategy for you, or maybe you just need a little more practice, which we're going to be getting in small group this week. If you have any questions, please reach out to your teacher and have a great day.